Imagine falling in love with a very beautiful girl, only to be shocked when you discover that she turns into a demon at night, and your mission is to be her guardian to protect her. The movie begins with Joe, a young man living a boring, routine life, especially after resigning from the company where he used to work. One day, he notices new neighbors moving into the apartment below him. He tells his friend that they're planning to open a bakery there. Joe spends most of his time, if not all of it, alone in his apartment. One day, while cleaning, his pillow falls down, so he goes downstairs to get it. On his way, he comes across a very beautiful girl sitting alone. He's instantly captivated by her, almost like love at first sight. Later, Joe can't stop talking about her to his friend, saying she looks like an angel. His friend teases him, asking why he didn't just sit with her instead of coming to eat here. Joe replies, "What was I supposed to do?" His friend laughs and says, "You could have at least talked to her." That night, Joe hangs out with his friend until late. On his way back, drunk and barely able to see straight, he takes the elevator. Suddenly, it stops on the 13th floor. The doors open, and he's shocked to see a ghost-like woman who stares at him and asks, "Who are you?" before terrifying him. The next morning, Joe wakes up in his bed, as if nothing happened. Later, he goes out to buy something to eat. There, the girl from the bakery tells him they're offering discounts for residents because of their grand opening. He gives her his apartment number right away. She realizes he's the neighbor from upstairs and calls for her sister, Seong-ji. To Joe's shock, Seong-ji is the same girl he had seen before and fallen for. Her sister introduces them, and Seong-ji greets him warmly. But, as Joe recalls the frightening encounter from the night before, he panics and runs away. That night, he stays awake, obsessing over her strange behavior, unable to figure her out. Later, Seong-ji is asleep when she suddenly dreams of a girl sitting in complete darkness, then opening her eyes wide. At that exact time, 2 a.m., Joe is out on his balcony collecting his laundry, as usual. From there, he notices Seong-ji standing alone outside. Pretending he's just going to buy some milk, he approaches her to see what she's doing. But then he sees her screaming at someone in front of her. Thinking it's a harasser, Joe rushes to help, only to realize it's actually her father. After clearing up the misunderstanding, Joe introduces himself as their upstairs neighbor. Curious, he then asks the father if he's ever seen his daughter acting that way at night. He tells the father, "There was a time in the elevator when I thought your daughter was possessed. She grabbed me by the neck because I almost cracked my head inside." The father angrily warns him, "Leave now. But if I ever find out you told anyone about what you saw, I'll kill you with my own hands." Terrified, Joe runs away. The next day, when Joe takes the elevator again, he suddenly finds Seong-ji coming in behind him. He nervously apologizes for what happened the night before, but she has no idea what he's talking about. She just presses the button for her floor, leaving him puzzled. That night, Joe secretly watches Seong-ji and her father. He notices she's completely different from how she acts during the day. Her father follows her everywhere, trying to control her. Suddenly, in the middle of a conversation, she transforms in anger. Her father struggles to hold her down and nearly hurts his back. Just as she's about to collapse, Joe jumps in to save the situation. The father is injured, and Joe rushes him to the hospital. Later, Joe visits him there. The father hands Joe some documents he had asked for, Joe's personal background. It turns out the Joe family is well respected in society. The father asks if Joe has a criminal record. Joe insists he doesn't, adding that he used to practice taekwondo and table tennis. The father then presses, "So why were you fired from your last job?" Joe explains that he resigned voluntarily because the work didn't suit him and was exhausting. The father scoffs, "Who isn't tired, son? The whole country's suffering." Then he looks Joe in the eye and asks, "Why are you always spying on me and my daughter?" Joe admits, "Honestly, your daughter's behavior is really strange. It's like she turns into another person and my curiosity is killing me." Finally, Seong-ji's father reveals the truth. "My daughter is possessed. When she was born, a demon was born inside her. Every night at 2 a.m., that demon takes over her body for about 3 hours. This isn't just some personality disorder. It's an ancient curse on our family. Seong-ji walks at night because she loves the moonlight." Horrified, Joe thinks about running away after hearing this. But Seong-ji's father grabs him and convinces him to help his daughter. And so, Joe stays with her through the night, enduring her strange and frightening behavior. Deep inside, he still wants to run, but somehow, the night passes without disaster. And then he goes to her father and says, "You should take your daughter to a psychiatric hospital." The father replies, "That's a hard thing to ask of you, but please, protect her. I won't trust anyone else with my daughter. Besides, you're her closest neighbor. Just be careful." because you really are dealing with a demon. The next morning, Joe goes to train/work at their bakery. He tells Seongji he's happy to be working with her. Seongji greets him calmly, then brings her sister Ara and explains that when Seongji wakes up, she doesn't remember anything about transforming into the demon. On the other hand, the demon does remember everything. At first, Joe doesn't believe it, but Ara reassures him not to worry, and she turns out to be right. That night, when Seongji transforms, the demon taunts him about saying in the bakery that he was excited and happy to work with her. Joe is shocked because Ara's warning proved true. Suddenly, the demon disappears and then appears behind him, runs toward him and says, "Take my hand. Don't worry, Seongji is asleep now." She tells him she's attracted to him. Joe remembers what her father said, that the demon will try to break him as much as it can so it can win and grow stronger. He yells at her, "You're a liar, and I won't let you deceive me so easily." She answers, "Fine," then runs off to the supermarket to buy food and treats the cashier very rudely. Joe apologizes to the cashier, saying, "Sorry, she's a bit unwell." While she's eating, Joe asks the demon, "What are you doing inside Seongji's body?" The demon replies that an ancestor wronged her in an unforgivable way, and Seongji is the one who must endure the punishment, and that this will continue forever. When Joe calls her crazy, she literally starts smashing the place. He eventually manages, with effort, to calm her down. The next day, while standing with Seongji, she teaches Joe how to properly cut the baked goods. Joe is distracted, still thinking about everything that's been happening to her. Suddenly she tells him, "Talk to me normally, without being so formal, like you do with Ara. That will help us get closer." Then she excuses herself, saying she has a class to attend, and leaves. Joe is overjoyed, because deep down, he also wants to get closer to her. That night, when the clock strikes 2 a.m., he prepares himself quickly, and suddenly finds the demon in front of him. She drags him away to play on a swing, mocking him the whole time, saying, "Is this all you've got?" Until Joe finally shoves her hard and she falls flat on her face. Furious, she runs after him, and so it continues day after day by day. Joe watches Seongji, angelic as ever, while they work side by side at the bakery. But by night, the demon torments him endlessly, at one point even driving the poor supermarket boy nearly insane. Ara secretly films many of these strange incidents and sends them to their father in the hospital. Time flies, and Joe gradually grows used to the demon's madness. One day, while they're out together, Joe challenges the demon to a bet. She must pick a game, and if he wins 3 times, she has to leave Seongji's body forever. The demon doesn't respond at first. Desperate, Joe begs her to tell him what he must do to drive her out. Finally, she agrees. "If you lose, I'll extend the time I stay in her body even longer than the usual 3 hours. Joe accepts, and manages to win. He tells the demon to leave Seongji. She smirks and says, "Fine, but you'll have to say my name and command me to leave 3 times. Joe asks, "And what's your name?" The demon replies, "Of course I'm not going to tell you," and walks away. The following day, Joe and Seongji go out together to deliver baked goods to cafes. While Joe is carrying a load, he bumps into a stranger and drops everything. Seongji apologizes, but the man acts strangely and tries to grab her hand. Joe quickly steps in, apologizing and saying it was an accident. Later, Joe learns by chance from Ara that she's going to France to study. He feels deeply sad as he stands outside their house, realizing Seongji will soon be far from him. Just then, she comes out, surprised to see him. Joe teases her, asking why she's so surprised. But when she calls him by his name, he knows it's really Seongji, not the demon. The two go for a quiet walk. Joe asks if she's feeling sleepy, but she tells him tonight is her mother's death anniversary, which is why she can't sleep. She explains that her mother passed away when she was 8 years old, after suffering terribly, and that she never forgot her smile or her warm embrace. She apologizes for rambling, but Joe tells her, "Not at all. I love listening to you." As they walk, Joe pulls her aside to protect her from an oncoming car. She smiles and says that since they're already out, they should go to the cinema. And so, they head off to watch a movie together. There, he finds her touching his hand, and he's overjoyed. She laughs and says, "See? I knew you loved me," then stands up. And, unfortunately, the demon comes out. It turns out she had been playing him the whole time. He begs her to leave Seongji's body because of her, Seongji can't travel, can't sleep, and can't live a normal life. The demon refuses and reminds him of the method she told him earlier for how she will be expelled. She walks over and stops in front of a picture of a beach. He tells her that if she really wants to go there, she shouldn't be out at night. She replies, "Then take me during the day." Ara had told him that the demon remembers everything that happened, day or night. Unlike Seongji, who remembers nothing. The next day, Jo takes Seongji to the beach. She's very happy. He photographs Seongji a lot. They enjoy their time together. That night, Jo asks the demon if she enjoyed the trip. She answers, "No one enjoyed it except you." He tells her he drove 4 hours to the beach until he was exhausted and that this is unfair. She gets angry, smashing the pottery in her hands, and declares that everyone wants to get rid of her. "You promised you'd make me happy. Don't try to get rid of me," she shouts, then runs off to grab some grass and shouts at him, "Have you forgotten who I am?" He tries to stop her, but she pushes him away and runs. As he chases her, she nearly causes an accident. Suddenly she stops when she sees a rope tied between trees and begins to feel pain in her legs. Everything calms down when Jo arrives, gives her water to drink, wipes the dirt from her face, and promises sincerely that he will make her happy if she keeps her promise to him. He keeps his promise. He takes her to the amusement park so she can ride the bouncing game she's wanted to try. She's delighted. A memory of a father, mother, and daughter playing the same game flashes through her mind. But Jo gently interrupts her, and they spend a lovely time together. They play many games, and he takes her to a rose garden where he photographs her beautifully. The next day, Jo asks Seongji if she has ever promised someone something. She admits she likes someone but doesn't have the courage to tell him, and she means Jo. Their conversation is interrupted by a customer, the same man who bumped into him in the cafe. Jo goes to talk with him. The man says he can free Seongji of the demon forever. It turns out, he's the one who tied the rope between the trees. The reason Seongji's legs had trembled, and she couldn't stand. Jo thinks he must be mistaken, but the man's words unsettle him. He then discovers the demon already knows what the man told him, and she warns Jo, if he secretly cooperates with this man against her, she will destroy Seongji. In the morning, Seongji says goodbye because she's going to her class. Jo asks her to call him when she returns because he'll wait for her at the station. She agrees happily. Later, while Jo is talking with her father and telling him about the man who claimed he could exorcise the demon, the father warns him that the man is a fraud like the ones before. All he cares about is money. Meanwhile, Seongji is at the station, waiting for him as promised. A woman with a broken arm asks Seongji to tie her shoe. The woman offers her sweets as thanks, and Seongji accepts and boards the bus. She eats one of the sweets and suddenly loses consciousness. The bus stops, and the same man who spoke with Jo gets on the bus with her. Jo was sitting with her father, but suddenly he stepped out of the bakery and noticed the moon rising. It was time for her to transform into the demon. When he called her, she didn't answer, so he immediately told her father. He pulled out his phone to track her location and saw that she was very far away. Jo rushed into the car and drove to her. At that moment, Seongjae found herself tied up by the crazy man, who had turned on the camera in front of her and was trying to perform some strange ritual. Jo arrived just in time, broke down the door, but the man attacked him, warning him to back off. The man was about to complete the ritual, but Jo wouldn't stop. They fought fiercely until Jo finally defeated him and freed the demon from his grip. On their way back, Jo told her he was ready to listen if she wanted to talk. She began to open up, saying that a long time ago, her land had been struck by drought and disease. It became nearly impossible to survive, and she lost her father and sister, leaving her completely alone. One day, a famous witch came to their village and warned that everyone would die unless they offered a sacrifice. They had nothing to give, so when she had just turned 20, her village betrayed her and sacrificed her instead. A kind family felt pity for her, so they took her ashes, placed them in a clay jar, and buried them underground. Her soul remained trapped there. 50 years later, a woman found the jar, opened it, and released her spirit. Her soul then possessed the first person she saw. Her heart was filled with rage and hatred, but before she could fully take over the woman, she realized the woman was pregnant. Because of that, she was able to possess the unborn child as well. From there, she continued moving from grandmother to mother, and finally to Seongjae. She explained she never wanted to hurt Seongjae. She only wished to remain with that kind family. But when Seongjae's mother fell ill and was hospitalized, she begged her to leave her daughter's body and come with her instead. The demon couldn't, because her time wasn't over yet. Joe asked what she meant. She explained that once the 1000th full moon passed outside the jar, she would vanish on her own. He then asked if there wasn't a better way for her to find true peace. She told him there was. If someone placed her back into the jar with genuine compassion, she could spend the remaining 50 years peacefully. The problem, however, was that the jar had disappeared, and besides, she believed that in this world, there was no one with a heart pure enough to show her true kindness. Joe couldn't sleep because he was deeply affected by her story. Every day, he waited outside her apartment, hoping to see her, but she no longer came out like before. So, he went to Seong-jae's father, who was also troubled, feeling that she had suffered so much in her life. Joe asked him if the grandmother's old house still existed. The father said yes. Joe immediately rushed there despite the long distance. After a long struggle, he finally arrived and spent the whole day digging the ground, hoping to find the clay jar. Exhausted, he sat down in despair, but suddenly noticed a bird perched on a rock. Suspecting the jar might be buried underneath, he pushed hard to move the rock. After several attempts, he finally succeeded and discovered the jar that contained her ashes. Overjoyed, he grabbed it and hurried back to her. Meanwhile, she was getting dressed and heading out with her father. At the supermarket, for the first time, she treated a clerk kindly and even thanked him. Walking with her father, she reflected on all the life stages she had lived with such a loving dad. At that moment, Joe appeared, running toward her with excitement. She was shocked that he had managed to find the jar. He told her that now she could return inside it and spend the remaining 50 years in peace. She was surprised that he felt so much compassion for her, going all that way just to find her jar. Joe explained that he couldn't bear the thought of her disappearing to a place where she wouldn't find rest. He wanted her to forget everything painful that had happened to her and finally be somewhere better. He wished she could leave behind all her suffering and find the peace she deserved. She cried before him, and he reminded her that she had been alone, hurt, and forced through things she never deserved. Then he told her she could finally tell him her real name. Through her tears, she said, "My name is Moon Young." Joe replied that it was a beautiful name and asked if she was ready. He opened the jar, held out his hand, and commanded her twice to leave Seong-jae's body. Before the third command, she remembered all the happy moments she had shared with Joe, ran into his arms, and hugged him. After thanking him, Joe gave the third command, and she finally left Seong-jae's body forever. Seong-jae's family was overjoyed by the news, but Joe was deeply moved, thinking of Moon Young. Afterward, Seong-jae fulfilled her dream and traveled to France, while her sister Ara opened her own bakery, and their father closed the family shop and sold the apartment. Joe also began working again, this time with genuine dedication, because he had finally found passion in it. The film ends with Seong-jae sitting on a bus, remembering all the memories she and Joe shared, filled with love. And here, the movie ends.